And yeah, this is the one that people keep wanting to show me.
The Japan Times is the biggest and oldest English language newspaper in Japan. And yesterday, the Japan Times website did a story on video game localization. In the article, they spoke to a number of different people in the industry and discussed topics such as how localization has changed over the decades. They talk about the difficulty that used to be encountered when translating Japanese games, and then how things have improved in the modern day, leading to much higher quality localizations. However, a big focus of the article is on the increasingly common practice of working with Western localization teams during the development process. The article says, with the majority of sales for big games now outside Japan, everything from slang, words to characters' costumes must be carefully considered for a global audience. Here are some key quotes from the article. Localization is now integral to the design process.
Yeah, to me, I actually wish they wouldn't do this. Like, as I said, like with the Final Fantasy, like the translations, I think some of the like kind of awkward, weird translations add to the escapism to a game, but they can also take away from it really easily too, right? I mean, I don't know. Again, like I always side with like, just try to make it as close to the original as possible.
International gamers in mind from the start. One key example is how Japanese game developers dress their heroines, as the Me Too movement changes mindsets, says Frank Genti, senior localization manager at Japanese game giant Bandai Namco. We tell them that the cleavage is a bit too exposed,
I already saw this.
or the skirt is a bit too short, he adds. Before, they weren't very flexible, but they've become more proactive on such subjects. Many representations which were normal in Japan in the first Like a Dragon games are no longer acceptable today, says Masayoshi Yokoyama. The series...
Yeah, and I said the same thing yesterday. Like, I'm not going to like go and repeat everything because I already went through a lot of this before. But like, I don't think that their read on what's acceptable in American public, to the American public, I don't think it's accurate. I think that this is a small group of people that have an extreme opinion who are trying to get into a position of communication power and then trying to change the way in which people communicate completely. And they want to have like a monopoly over the way that that people communicate. And I find this very problematic. I don't think this is good for anybody. And I don't think that these people are actually representing what Western audiences want. I think they're representing what a small group of freaks on social media want. And I think that everybody else just rolls their eyes at this kind of stuff and thinks that it's weird. And they don't like it. They try to prevent the drama, in my opinion. But the drama isn't real. That's the problem. So, like, whenever somebody gets mad on Twitter, it doesn't matter. Like, if there's a thread that goes up on Twitter and, like, people are being negative about a person doing something, that doesn't actually do anything. It doesn't cause people to, like, play games more or play games less. If anything, it causes them to play them more, to be honest, because now everybody's talking about them. So, well, colonizing cultures everywhere? Well, you don't want to use that word, right? That's the word that they use. So, yeah, they're the ones that would start the fucking drama. Exactly, yeah, they're the ones that start the drama. They are the drama makers. So it's like, I think that these are imaginary problems that people don't really have. Like, I'm talking about, like, real people. Like, I'm not talking about, like, a social media, like a group of, like, 1,000 or a few thousand people on social media that, like complaining about something. Like, I'm talking about, like, an actual, like, consumer audience as a whole. I don't think that they have a problem with these things. And I think that, in fact, they like them. It's just that simple. They're terminal online. Yeah, they are. And so I think that the entire method of gauging what Western audiences want is being viewed through the lens of a person who, in my opinion, shouldn't be even making decisions in a lot of cases for themselves. They're fucking crazy. I listen to these people talk. I listen to these people communicate. Bro, like, this guy's nuts. This girl's nuts. Like, what the fuck? I don't want this person, like, telling me what I should do. It's crazy.
Executive producer, we ask our teams in the United States and Europe to read the game's script, and they tell us if they see things that won't be acceptable in their country.
I don't think that they have a good read on that at all. I don't think that they have any idea. So you're saying that all surveys and market research by corporate firms is wrong? I don't think that they do surveys or market research on this. I think what they do is they hire firms that have an agenda that use, basically surveys and market research that they create that's curated in a way that's beneficial to their goals. And then those people tell them that this is what it says, but that's actually not what it says. It's viewed through somebody's narrow lens instead of a general lens. Yeah, exactly. And people that they survey are biased. Yeah, I mean, like that's basically really it. So like number one, I think that they're not using surveys and market research to come to a lot of these conclusions. And number two, I think that in the cases that they are, I think that they're inaccurate.
Is as much a cultural challenge as a linguistic one, says Pierre Froget, localization manager at Bandai. Changes often focus on alcohol, politics, or religion, Froget adds, while cultural reference points also differ. When there are people dressed in black boots and big leather coats, in Europe, that could bring to mind a Nazi uniform, he says.
Yeah.
You can find a link
and
to
like, how many people really think that? Like, if you were to ask people in Europe, how many people would view this as a Nazi uniform? And this is why I think that, again, a lot of it actually doesn't have anything to do with any sort of like culture thing or anything like that. Or sorry, like any sort of like a like study. I don't think they're really doing studies where they ask a bunch of Europeans, what do you see whenever you see this person?
He says. You can find a link
Make a
to
poll? Well, the thing is, like, even my poll would be biased as well. Like, that's why I think that, like, the only thing that you can really go off of is, like, sales. Because, like sales and general sentiment. Because most of the time that a lot of people say they don't like something, but they keep buying it. And there are also times where people say they like something, but they don't buy it. And that's really the bottom line, literally in this case.
Full article in the description. The discussion is reminiscent of Sony's changed stance, as reported by the Wall Street Journal in 2019. The subheading reads, "Move reflects concerns in the US about the depiction of women, but it angers developers in Japan." And the report details the western side of Sony becoming increasingly involved in the approval process for games released for its systems and creating new in-house standards. This has then led to dozens of games being denied a release and forced to make content changes to release on PlayStation. With this
and I find this very problematic because I don't think that the people that are making these decisions, I think that they're fucking weird loser freaks. And I don't think that they have any sort of a read on what the public wants. I think they have an agenda. I think they're weird. I think that their values are completely fucked up. And I don't think any of this stuff actually matters. So whenever I see kinds of things like this happening, I think to myself, I'm like, well, this is fucking, like, why are we listening to this person? It's not about public information. Sometimes it's the government of the country you release in. I think we're all understanding of the fact that if they have to censor a game because of government regulation, that's understandable. It's disappointing, but it's understandable. I'm not talking about I'm talking about things that are outside of government regulation. And people with the criticisms don't even play games. No, they don't. They're not real game players. They're not even real people, right? They're like social media people that are just upset about an issue and are looking for this to kind of be a vehicle to complain about that issue. Like, that's really what it's about.
Affecting Japanese developers. And the Japan Times news story gives insight into how a similar global view is being taken into consideration during the development process, rather than leaving it solely to the localization department to handle. This also means less games with localization changes between Japan and the West, due to things instead being considered and implemented during development for every version of a game.
It's like proactively censored.
As always, let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and until next time, thank you for watching.
So we're never playing the developer's vision to do all the changes? Yeah, and that's really what the problem is. Like, yeah, I think this is very fair. I mean, obviously this sucks. You imagine if people complain about Dallas cheerleaders being too pretty? No, because that would be insane. Yeah, I could imagine that. I bet people do. But it's just that the reality is that the more that you go and you enable this kind of stuff, I mean, this guy's got a crazy, like, he's really dedicated to this. So yeah, I'll give him a sub, give him a like. This is great. And Korea banned Gingivid Fires once because the campaign battle outcome wasn't the one that they declared, which was the one that was reality. Yeah, I mean, that's stupid too. I mean, I don't think anybody's really, like defending something like that. Of course, that's ridiculous. But like just in a general sense, I think that the more that this kind of stuff happens, it's bad for it's bad for the artistic vision of any game, because now it's being censored because of somebody who, again, like I didn't vote for these people. But the one thing that you can do, and this is what I've said, right? I mean, like me talking about this and complaining about it doesn't do anything. But like if we stop buying these games because of this, they'll get rid of these people. The reason why it's seen to be okay is because sales are either going up or because sales aren't going down. So they keep making these changes because it's not really affecting anything. Yeah, but they're breaking sales records. Yeah. But, well, the question really is that, are they breaking sales records as an outcome of this behavior? Or are they breaking sales records because the game is good and it is despite this behavior? I would argue that it's probably despite this behavior, because all of these games are being very successful. Things like Genshin Impact, for example, that are a little bit different than that. Because the game is good. It has nothing to do with anything. Yeah, exactly. We need actual research. It's all thesis. Well, I don't know. I mean, I think that like there's like a certain level of like just kind of common sense knowledge that any normal person would have, which is like, I don't want to have, like, just fundamentally, I don't want to have some weirdo at Sony who thinks that they understand American culture tell me that whenever I buy a video game from Japan, you should expect to have Japanese culture in that game, because that's what you're buying. So whenever you buy a game from Japan and then you try to put your vision into it, or like your morals or ethics into it, you fundamentally change it. You should expect hot anime girls. Yeah, well, I mean, not every time, but a lot of times, yeah. They're accountants in risk management, always trying to lower the risk further, not understanding. I think that you're right about that. Yeah, they just always err on the side of safe. And in doing that so much, they remove the, what's the word for it? They remove the actual value from the product in the first place. It's not Japanese at that point. Yeah, exactly. Pipeline is simply woke. It's a safe investment. Safe investment bring ads and more investors. Investors want woke because agenda. I think that mainly you're right that, things like that are seen as safe. But I think that as you see more games take risks and succeed, you'll see the focus on being safe become less important over time. And I think that we're already seeing that. And again, this is all determined by the market. So a game that is focused on basically just making things for a market of customers and is successful, that is what people will follow. They're not going to follow something that's woke just because it's woke. How is being woke safe? It's being safe because a lot of people on social media aren't going to try to cancel the game. Like, for example, whenever a game comes out and then a lot of people on social media get really mad about the game, people that work at that company don't really know how to parse that out, so they view that as being unsafe. Does that make sense? I think it does. Last of Us 2 is woke and succeeded. The thing is, like, I don't think anybody has a problem with games that are woke. I think the only problem that I have is with games that aren't woke that get forced into being woke by people that aren't the artistic people that are making the game. Like, if you want to make a woke game, then you should be able to do that, and I totally support you. But what I don't support is people that are trying to push their vision onto a game that doesn't have that.